It is the time at 6 o'clock. We are the Sun City Leatherheads podcast coming to you from El Paso, Texas. I am JD Cercelli. This is Danny Ramirez. Danny, we got to do our first NFL draft. How do you think it went?
It was awesome. It was really fast, actually. For it being 4 hours long, it felt like 2 hours long. But it was a lot of fun to kind of recap every selection, every trade. I mean, it was just so much fun. I can't wait to do it
It
again.
was it was such a blast. And then like you said, being there 4 hours and it just like the pandemonium, the craziness, and then of course the Atlanta Falcons shocked the world by taking Penix Jr. at number 8. That was the biggest surprise, obviously, from round one. But yeah, it was such a blast. And yeah, I mean, we got the headphones, we got new mics, and we went all out for the NFL draft. And I mean, things are looking good for us. So everything should be going up from here.
Yep, for sure.
I'm excited.
So, what
So
about you? Are you excited to give out some grades, some draft
oh
grades?
yeah, I got some too. Obviously, there's plenty of room to go for people that I did like, and then just a small sample of people that I didn't feel for, sort of. But I mean, I could see where they're heading towards the future, and not just this draft. So
Hmm.
I we'll talk about obviously we're going to talk about two teams that we thought you and I agreed on the Commanders along with Gabe, right? So I didn't choose them just because like we're all in agreement there. Obviously, we're all in agreement of Penix Jr. being the craziness of round one, and then obviously you gave the Bears A+ in your grade, so that's going to be fun to talk about. And then of course my team, um, Cowboys fans are they're in flux right now. I am not joking. I mean, Zeke coming back, they're like, what are we doing? We could have drafted a running back at any time. There's so many things going on, but I didn't really give them an F like you and I were talking about before yesterday during our run through for the podcast episode. But I give them an E, and it's not because they failed, but like an E for an explanation. So I'm going to give that later on to the Cowboy fans of like we drafted why why we drafted where we did and what's to come, right? So
Yeah, you
sounds
cracked
good.
me up. You cracked me up, by the way, when I was asking you about your grade, and you were like, "Jay."
Yeah, Jay for Jones, because I mean, so frustrating. But Cowboy Faithful, it's gonna be another year. I promise. Like, there's after free agency and this draft, like we're definitely it's gonna be another year of why, but I like the future, so to speak. So we'll talk about that soon. So I'm gonna let you go first, and you could bring up your first team, and if you want to see like bring them up on the big board so people can see who you like, and go ahead. The floor is yours, my brother.
All right. So I actually am a fan of the Los Angeles Rams draft selections. I think, we you and I talked about it
Ooh.
briefly on Monday, but it was just really cool to see how, they paired two Florida State defensive linemen together. And it just makes a lot of sense, especially after, Aaron Donald decided to retire, right? You're going to be losing a lot of production. So in that regard, right, it's good to see. And let me share my screen here. But it would be good to see like the level of production that Aaron Donald, gives you. Now you have it amongst two, top first two selections, right? Whether it be first round, second round, you have Jared Verse, who's, and I said this while we were watching the draft. I like Jared Verse because he is one of those really bull rush specialists, right? He's strong. He's not flashy in the sense of, he's not a technician in terms of like the moves at defensive end, but he's just super strong and he could collapse the pocket pretty quickly. Then you add Braden Fisk, right? And Braden Fisk is no slouch either. Like Braden Fisk showed at the combine that he is also capable of being like that technician in the middle, right? And having that strength. So you pair those two rookies together, teammates, right? I believe they were even roommates at Florida State. And I think that just shows, that the front office for the Rams, they get it. They get in building a stout defense. Then you go to round 3, and you have a Blake Corum. You had a Blake Corum to that running back room that it was already kind of vicious with Kyron Williams. I think now you add a 1-2 punch at running back, and I mean that's just going to help Stafford tremendously. You and I spoke about Stafford, right, being older. I shouldn't say old. He being older, so he doesn't have too much time left. I don't think in the NFL, right? So why not surround him with a supporting cast that can take the load off of his responsibility? And then you go to pick round 3 again, and they get Cameron Kitchens, a really good safety from the Miami Hurricanes, right? So again, you're helping that defense, to really take that next step. And then you get Brendan Jackson, right, a linebacker to support the defense. Then you get Tyler Davis, defensive lineman, and it just keeps going on and on, right? Again, I can't tell you, I can't even lie to you. I don't know all of these players, like these last couple rounds, but
Oh,
just
right.
show the amount of players that they were able to add. I mean, that's just crazy, and they're just building that depth in that on that team.
Okay, so going back to what we talked about in the draft, the San Francisco 49ers we brought up, and um, Sean McVay is the coach that we brought up. In the last 10 to 15 years, it doesn't matter where he drafts because it's been a long time since he had a first round, right? But
Yeah.
he still hits. And like I mean, he's won a Super Bowl without a first round pick, while doing that. Because I think the first round pick came with the Matthew Stafford trade and all that jazz. But so he always trades away, and honestly, the Sean McVay, people kind of overlook that with his draft stock and the way he's able to maneuver, he's Bill Belichick 2.0. The earlier years, the early 2000s, mid 2000s, when the league was a little different with different rules and stuff, Bill Belichick was able to adapt and learn and go with the rules by players. Like, see what best players would fit the style of the rules and the game with his team format, right? And I think
Yep.
that's what Sean McVay does. Obviously, of course, he's won a Super Bowl, so he's already got that on his belt. But I agree, like he hits. Like it doesn't matter if he has a second round, third round, first round, fifth round. I mean, pick 2000 being exaggerated, but like he's gonna get what he wants, right? So like, to going back to your Los Angeles, it's funny that we have both Los Angeles teams actually. So you love the Rams, so and I couldn't agree more that he's one of the coaches, the GM since they got together, the and obviously the organization, they know how to pick what they really want, right? So
Yeah.
and they just plug them in. So Nakua, obviously a major steal last year in the draft. So who knows? Maybe someone down the line on this draft, like a Tyler Davis, might be someone's steal that they messed up on, so that they missed on. So yeah, I like that Rams analogy, and obviously you being a little homer of the Rams because you that was like your first love interest. So you're going back home a little bit. So, but I see it. The Rams, they got the new uniforms a few years back. They win the Super Bowl. He's always like contemplating, should I retire? Should I keep going? But like, I don't know. McVay, he has a niche of finding the right piece at the right time, right?
Yeah.
So that goes hand in hand. So I love the analogy that you just gave, and then the team that you just provided. The Rams definitely had a good part in the draft.
Yeah, no, that's to kind of piggyback off what you were saying about Sean McVay, knowing how to draft. I think that's true, right? It goes true to the GM as well. I'm trying to blank on his name. Les Snead. They both just have a good partnership when it comes to selecting players that I guess fit, what they're envisioning. And Puka Nakua, I mean, it's easy to say that if he wasn't there last year, they probably wouldn't have as much success as they did. I mean, they were competing for a wild card spot towards the end of the year. And Cooper Cup goes down, Puka Nakua shines, and he's the one that keeps that offense going. So it's good to see that they are able to pinpoint those players and take risks and opportunities on or get those opportunities to really have their players excel. So I that's why it stood out to me, not because I used to like them or whatever, but it's just I have to recognize they're great at selecting those players, and I think this year they hit another home run.
I I agree. I mean, yeah, like I'm like it's fun to say that it was your first love and all that stuff, but yeah, it was not even just because like you select them as a child because of the greatest show on turf. It was because the overall standing of understanding the NFL, right? Like
Yep.
they've been in contention now for the last several years since McVay took over. And then what, year two, I think they went to the Super Bowl. Of course, they lost to the Patriots, but a few years later they win the Super Bowl. So yeah, it's been awesome for the Rams organization. Sean McVay's train, the train keeps rolling. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. I have to second that. But yeah, what about you? What Let me stop sharing my screen here. What do you want
You're
to talk
good.
about?
Okay, so they kind of had a quiet draft, but the how many they picked and why they picked and where they picked and all that jazz. Um, the Arizona Cardinals, I think, had a sneaky draft that maybe down the line definitely changes their fortunes for the organization. Of course, Harrison Jr., the most prestige receiver, right? Supposedly coming out of the draft. So you get him. So you get Marvin Harrison Jr., Darius Robinson, defensive line in the first round. Max Melton, quarterback. Trey Benson, who is one of the running backs that Dallas supposedly loved that I want to draft, right? We were talking about during the second round, third, fourth, every day. Isaiah Adams, Tip Raymond, tight end, all these sneaky good players. And the reason why I say sneaky is because most people don't understand or know. I should not understand. They don't know the last team that got to pick this many players in the first 90 picks of the NFL draft was just your 1990 Cowboys. What did they do? They got super sneaky picks that built a dynasty. Do I expect the Cardinals to possibly win 3 Super Bowls in 2 years? Maybe not. But the fact that they have an identity with all these picks going forward, and Kyler Murray, they got some pieces now where it's just like, all right, man, we got some young talent around you. Now it's time to show up, right? So, and he's on the back end of his career, his contract. So let's say he doesn't show up maybe this year. Well, then obviously the Cardinals, they have Shooter Sanders next year, maybe possibly in the draft. They depending on where he falls or whatever. I think Dallas is going to go after him too. But yeah, so the last time since since all these drafts, the 90s Cowboys were the last team to pick 7 in the first 90. So that says a lot, right? So they may
Yep.
not be the flashiest picks because they never are. I always tell you, tier B people will come and make you win a championship before 4 superstars because those tier Bs are way more by the quantity than they are the talent. So I just think the Arizona Cardinals did exactly what they needed to help Kyler, and then of course year two in this coaching staff to you have the NFC West, right? So you got the Rams who we just spoke about, and then you got the 49ers who is your biggest bully in the NFC the last 7 years, right? So
Hmm.
um it definitely is one of those teams that is just like, all right, man, we definitely need to finally hit Goliath in the jaw. How can we pick some players that a lot of people are not expecting, like Trey Benson falling to them that far? And then that just goes, they already have a decent running back. So, you pair them together and you get a Marvin Harrison Jr. And then we talked about them having that tight end last year when we were talking about free agency. Like
Trey
this,
McBride.
exactly. This core right here, one, it's young, it's fresh, and they all come in together. So 7 picks in the first 90 all come in together at the same time. So they can grow, develop, and obviously, be brothers. So it's not like, oh man, he came in 5 years or he's at his back in his career. Like, no, we all came in at one time and it was 7 in the first 90. So that is definitely something to look towards, especially if you're a young team, right? Like you're a team that's like gonna the Cardinals are rebuilding, obviously. So yeah, I think they had a sneaky great draft, especially like let's say the 49ers do a Shanahan and 49ers. What if they get back to the NFC Championship game or they go to the Super Bowl. Maybe they win this time, or they lose. Whatever the case may be, Ayuk, Kittle, Debo, they're not getting younger. Greenlaw, there's so many pieces that they're gonna start leaving San Francisco from either free agency or maybe retirement or whatever the reason. So this young core could be the next step of like, hey man, like if the Rams are gonna kind of like build stock, why can't we? So
Yeah.
it's definitely a good sneaky draft that I'm sure a lot of people are not really but I'd say maybe next year to the following year with all these pieces coming together
Oh,
with
we're back.
other draft
Okay.
picks. Yeah, with other draft picks
Sorry.
or whatever the case may be, you're good. Free agency, they're gonna mesh well, and I think it's gonna be great for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you with everything you said. I think, what's I guess the overall goal of the draft is to get as many, players as you can that will contribute to your team. And if, like you said, they had how many in the first
Like they
you
had like
said
7 in the first 90, and like you
okay.
obviously you miss and hit, right? So you miss and hit or hit and hit miss. So if you have the first 7, you have 7 picks in like the first 90. I mean, some of them's got to hit, right? At least more than half.
Yeah.
So
No, and that's good. I mean, that's exactly why you want to have that many, draft selections within the first 90 because that way the chances of you hitting on one of these and be a star is going to be so much likelier than other teams that have to just make one selection, or even the Bears case, right? Look at the Bears. They only had 4 selections total in the whole draft. And so when
that's
you're
wild.
able to stockpile draft selections like the Cardinals have been doing for the last 2 years, it just shows that they get it, right? It shows that their front office is not trying to just put band-aids on their roster. They're accepting what it is, and they're trading away good players, or they're not re-signing players like, they let Hollywood Brown go. They understand that they're not a Hollywood Brown away from competing in the NFC West, right? So they have to get as many draft picks as you can, try to improve your roster as a whole, and they surely did that, on Thursday and Friday, well, the whole weekend. Marvin Harrison is a stud. You know what you're gonna get from a Marvin Harrison, right? And that helps
Right.
Kyler Murray. On the defensive side, you added Darius Robinson. Yes, I wasn't a fan of the place he was selected, but still, right? His potential is there. Max Melton, he's an underrated cornerback that I think is also going to have a lot of success. And then you go back to the offensive side and you get Trey Benson. Like Trey Benson was one of the top draft running back prospects, right? And so you're able to get him for that offense. You pair him with James Conner, that's already had a lot of success in Arizona, and now you give him a breather by putting Trey Benson on the roster. I think
Exactly.
they did a really good job. I'm really proud because now it's I'm sure some people know I'm moving to Arizona, so uh, I'm going to see a lot of Arizona Cardinals football. So I guess I better know what their roster looks like.
Dude, yeah. So I think it's gonna be awesome. We should plan a game or something out there. That'd be fun.
Let me know. You can stay with me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I just think like, if you have that many that early in the draft, like I would say at least 4 out of 7, kind of hit. So that definitely helps the team right then and there. Um so yeah, like you said, Connor is already there. Now you get a rookie running back that has, that's fresh. So you could be like, hey man, like you don't have to be the whole load. And then Harrison Jr. obviously is going to help you tremendously. So
Yeah.
and that honestly, the Cardinals were several games last year. They were in them. Like it's not they were just getting blown out. Like they are just a field goal, a touchdown away from making a major difference in that ball game. So you add these pieces, and yeah, it'll be all right.
Yeah, no, they competed for sure. And then even like against the Eagles, right? When the Eagles were trying to make a playoff push, they beat them.
They beat the
So I mean,
Cowboys. Like I'm like,
oh, that's true.
yeah. So they beat them what, week 2?
Mm-hmm. Early
Yeah,
on.
because that's when Diggs got hurt, and then like we were like, huh, what's going on? And then like they just truck runned us, and then yeah, they just never looked back. So yeah, I think they're gonna be up and coming for sure.
That's a good
So
one.
yeah,
I don't know
so
about you, but when I was looking at all the draft selections from every team, it was hard to pick, the top.
well, so many did so well except the Cowboys, but whatever. Uh, I mean, I actually do like them, but like we're gonna get into that later. But I like we talked about, right? The Commanders. Uncle George saying hail to the Redskins because like me, you, and Gabe agree. Like they were balls in all draft. So like they did good. The Eagles did good. Like how do you have two cornerbacks that are probably the top two, top three best, and then they fall to you? Like the first round, okay, but then you get another one that falls to you in the later in the draft. Like, oh man. So many teams did really well, and it hurt. And then a notable mention for me is the the Broncos. Obviously, it's going to be a super young core, but going forward, probably like year three, like next year in 2025 for Sean Payton, I mean, when he truly has the team he wants, because right now it starts this year because he gets rid of Russell, he gets rid of pieces that he didn't want, that he didn't draft. And then, you know what I mean? Notable mention that the
Yeah.
Broncos are going to be looking good going forward. But yeah, all right, my friend, what's pick number two for you?
I think, you and I are pretty on top of like each other's mind process or thought process here,
Okay.
because my next one is the Philadelphia Eagles.
uh, uh,
I know it pains you to see this, but it's not often that they
it's
get.
true though.
Yeah, I mean, just getting two first round talent cornerbacks. And if you look at their offense is set. There's really not much more you can do. You got Saquon Barkley now, so there's not like a fall off right now that they got rid of Swift. It's like probably an improvement. But on the defensive side, right, that is what really hurt them last year going into the playoffs, right? A lot of injuries, and then their players didn't step up. And now, of course, you get C.J. Gardner Johnson back, right? He goes from Detroit back to Philadelphia, and then you also get now in the draft you get Quenyon Mitchell, the top cornerback prospect, and then you also get Cooper DeJean, which is also considered a top prospect in the first round, and they get him in the second round of all things. So they just have a knack of just getting players to kind of drop, and then they act right. So last year was I believe they were like number 10, selecting number 10, right? And at that point, the top rated defensive lineman at that was Jalen Carter. And so nobody thought Jalen Carter was going to fall. Well, it so happens that he gets into some legal trouble last year and he falls, right? And the Bears were considered to be the ones to take him. And they're like, no, here, you can have a fourth round. Take Jalen Carter and make your defensive line better. Now they do the same thing essentially this year by getting two top cornerbacks to improve that secondary that was already, not the best. So they just get stronger. And Howie Roseman, if you look at his last 3 years, this year included, he's just drafting well. Like he's drafting quality players. Yes, they may have questionable characters, but as far as the talent goes, he's drafting talented players that are gonna be able to produce for their offense, their defense, their special teams. Like he knows what he's doing. Then you look at the third round, right? You get oh man, this is kind of confusing here. I don't like the way that they come. So they need they need a new social or digital media person here because I don't like the way they configured. Come on, if you're looking at the Arizona Cardinals webpage, right, where it shows all the pictures of all the players they
Yeah,
selected,
everybody.
and here it's just like no, read through the text. Kind of sucks.
Well,
So
Will Shipley's a bomb. Oof.
yeah, Will Shipley. I mean, he's a good running back. Um, honestly, like I think this was a bit of a reach compared to some of the people that left on the board. But hey, maybe they scouted him enough to know that he's a contributor there. Then they add a receiver from Texas A&M, uh, Aeneas Smith, right? And then to top it off, you and I talked about this when this happened with the fifth round selection, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., right? It seems like teams now are picking the sons of their former players, right, to kind of live the legacy or let the legacy live on. And who knows? You never know how these players are going to play right in the NFL. But I think it has to give them some more motivation knowing that the team that drafted their fathers are giving them a chance, right? So the Steelers started that trend, and now the Eagles are following. So it makes sense here, and it's cool to see. It's a feel good story there. But I won't keep going through this. I think they ruined the way they
No,
kind
no.
of listed the players here. But
Okay. No, I agree with you. So we talked about it the other day, right? Why wouldn't they do it? I don't know why they didn't do it a long time ago. Just drafting people that know each other really well, right? So you hit it on the noggin on your first team, which is the Rams, Verse, and what's the other
Fisk,
kid? Fisk.
Fisk.
And then Jeremiah Trotter Jr. going to the Eagles. What did he do? I mean, his dad went to the Super Bowl too. You know, like his dad had a great career down in Big McNabb and those Eagles. And then you have Porter Jr. go to the Steelers, like I said last year, and like and he puts another flame their tail because their dad can be like, bro, we built the legacy on this city, on this team, so you better not, you better not choke up. So, and
Yeah.
then you add a nice Smith that's already with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown and Dallas, or what's the tight end's name?
For
The Eagles. It's
no,
Dallas something, right? Because it's right.
Dallas Goddard.
Yeah, so ironic his name is Dallas because his family's Cowboys fans, but he gets dressed by the damn good
Oops.
Eagles. I know, right? Dallas Goddard, you're right. Okay, so I can hate that pick, but I'll hate it as a Cowboy fan because it's right there, man. Like they did a great draft to add exactly what they lost, right? So especially from 2 years ago, and what was the GM's name or whatever, Harry Roselle or
Roseman.
Rosie
Mhm.
O'Donnell, whatever. So there's a reason Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and the crappy Jones family that this team was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and there's a reason why that they've won the Super Bowl in the last 5 years. So
Yeah.
because they know what they're doing. They ain't tiptoeing around. Oh man, we messed up. Let's give a few years back. And no, they're just like, we sucked on this one. You're gone. We're gonna just regroup right now. And I don't. That's exactly what I wanted for Dallas, right? Like if the divorce come in, do it now. But
Yeah.
so yeah, the Eagles, man, they had a great draft. Commanders had a good draft. I mean, even the Giants. I mean, I can't even I can't even hate on the Giants. I mean, they went after a receiver like I said they would. I mean,
They got a
they
tight
they
end.
yeah, they did stuff that they should have. So yeah, the Eagles, man, NFC East, the NFC East is just going to be so stacked again. Like it's always that division, right, where everyone watches because you got American team, and then you got the Eagles, and then there's so many things going on, and this year for sure is going to be another one to watch because if we play the AFC North, then I see my division. So it's going to be a division to watch for sure.
Oh yeah. No, if I had to pick a winner just for that division itself, I would pick Washington. They just you could tell with Dan Quinn leading the team, they know what their vision is. They know the players are looking for,
Oh,
and the players they selected is exactly the players that the Cowboys would have drafted on defense if Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator. Like it
right.
just shows that he knows.
And going back to that, they got Luke McCaffrey. Like me and Gabriel, like I was. Are you kidding me?
That's your
Well,
guy.
I didn't say nice words, but but you know what? It shows that they know what they want. And then the team that I'm going to bring up next drafted the other receiver that I was like, how is he falling? So there's so much going on right now. Like I'm so depressed.
Yeah, let me
So
bring it up.
so yeah, the
Let me
next team is the Los Angeles Chargers for me.
see
And
their digital media team. They get it. See, it's easy.
come on, Eagles. Jeez. Okay, so going back to Nakua, right? McConkey falls in the draft probably because where he's at, like other receivers and other that jazz. But you get him, and then you get Brendan Rice way later in the draft, which
Hmm.
is the son of Jerry Rice, and you have a great quarterback already. I mean, Montana was there before Rice, so then like that's just going back to the whole like, hey, there's Herbert, now we got Brendan Rice, we got McConkey, two people that don't have injuries, obviously, so far. So that's good. And then the Chargers, that's one of the things that Chargers fell dramatically last year because of injuries and the poor coaching staff. But then you get Joe Alt, right, to start. Like, what do we say? Man, what do we say from John Harbaugh? Like, I was like, dude, he's gonna go through the trenches like from the jump. It's either gonna be offensive line or defensive line to send a message real quick. And what does he do? He gets the best offensive lineman in the draft. Boom, Joe Notre Dame goes to the Chargers. Then you get Junior Colson, who was a stud for him in Michigan. So I was like, he's gonna pick at least one person for, and obviously at that time at that pick, and then the way he fell in the draft, it was obviously the best perfect match, correct? So
Yep.
and then they I think they drafted two offensive linemen, and I think what do, right? So you protect the best player at all costs. And then that's your Justin Herbert. And then you have the big brother who's all they're just out there winning Super Bowl. So how are you going to do that? You have a great defense in the Kansas City Chiefs, especially last year, because majority of the year they carried that team when the offense was kind of flunky. So funky. So you get two offensive linemen. You get Cam Hart. For, so
Notre Dame.
yeah, yeah, Notre Dame, just another Notre Dame, right? And then look, there's a C. There's a C on his dang chest. So that already tells you that Notre Dame chose him as a captain. And that's Harbaugh's type of guys, right? Like I want to see the guy that walks in first in the training room and the video room, and the guy who walks out last. And they're obviously going to be there with Harbaugh because he's going to be there.
So
And then
it looks like this fourth round pick, fifth round pick, and this other fifth round pick, all defensive players, right? So you have a defensive lineman, you have a defensive back, and then another defensive back. So it just shows. Yeah,
Justin,
go for it.
I can't read his name.
Ebiobi.
Who's your mama? Okay, so, but look where he's from, Danny.
Yeah, he knows. Jim Harbaugh knows.
And then Brendan Rice falls that far, and then after Luke McCaffrey goes to the Commanders, what am I screaming? Like, please get Brendan Rice, get a bloodline. I mean, we could have had who's the running back too? His dad just retired. Frank Gore Jr.
Oh, Frank Gore, yeah.
Yes, like any bloodline, please. Like they're not gonna disappoint the father. Like the father's gonna be on their tail to make sure that they leave the legacy going. But no, we bombed that too. So Brendan Rice, McConkey, and then you already have another good wide receiver in the Chargers. He got hurt last year for a little bit.
Yeah, you're thinking of what's his name?
They both got hurt. Him and Keenan Allen. Man, what's his name? But he got. Oh man, his injury was bad. It tore his Achilles. But okay, so you get Brendan Rice, you get him. You get Quentin Johnson for a second year, like he's their speedster, and then you get McConkey. That's four wideouts that can like be a every down wideout, four go. So and then if you get a healthy Justin Herbert and you're able to protect him, I mean that's exactly why we're drafting these players, right? So it's the front seven, the trenches, and then our position players, as they say, the wide receivers.
I don't know if you saw Brendan Rice's like the moment that they called him. They shared a video, the Chargers did, and it's crazy because Brendan Rice was actually not at the draft. He was actually flying to Dallas to be at his best friend's funeral. Apparently, his best friend died, and he was a pallbearer.
Oh,
and so when he got that call from the Chargers, it was sad. It was sad to see that he knew he was in the NFL draft, right? Rice did, but he knew there was like something bigger than the draft going on in his life. And so when he got the call, of course, I think he was talking to the GM when the GM's like, "Hey, how are you doing today?" He's like, "Oh, I've been better. He's like, well, don't worry. We're about to hopefully make or lift up your spirits. And so you need to see it. It's just really sad to see that Brendan Rice,
one of his best days supposedly is actually one of his hardest days.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know what? He's going to have, knowing him, knowing his dad, that bloodline, he's going to have the work ethic to succeed at the next level. I guarantee it. I know. I was a fan of his even coming into the draft. I thought he was going to go in the third round, but he surprised me that he kept falling, kind of like, what's his name? From Trey from Oregon. What's his name?
Oh, Troy Franklin.
Troy Franklin. Sorry, I'm calling him Trey now. Yeah, Troy. See his draft stock falling. That was surprising to me. So, but I know both of these players, Troy Franklin, Brendan Rice, they're gonna succeed at the next level because they're just built that way.
Yeah, I think so Harbaugh, like we said, Harbaugh is the type of guy. He knows what he wants. He knows who he is. Like he's balls to the wall. He's not going to change for nobody. And I think going forward, you already have a star quarterback. You already have someone that can hold the mantle. Now just go and build him the front seven back, like the front five, and then the front seven through the trenches, and then you'll be set. And especially with
Yeah.
the Chiefs doing the Chiefs what they do, like you have to do it this way, right? So like you have to go about it to like it's not reaching or like it's not aggressive, but it's the safest, most potential organized draft within that division that's going to help them from the jump. Like I said, it's going to be maybe next year 3 for Champagne because it's going to be a young core coming together like Bo Nix, Troy Franklin. There's a lot of young pieces. And then Antonio Pierce, I mean, Gardner Minshew and O'Connell, we got to see if O'Connell's the guy or we're going to see if Minshew's like a bridge quarterback, right? So that's still kind of question marks in Raider land, Raider Nation. And then who's the other one? US, it's the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Raiders. That's all of them. Oh yeah. So, So I think the Chiefs, I'm sorry, the Chargers are the closest team to help debunk the gauntlet of the Chiefs' reign on the division and potentially the playoffs within the division. Right. So,
Yeah.
I think that they did a great draft just to try to compete with them. You may take another year because it's your first year with Harbaugh, but at least you're building that one so you can just say, hey, man, we're tired of getting bullied all the time. And then look at the Chiefs or the Chargers. We talked about Herbert being the highest scoring offense since he's been drafted, and then his defense was the highest scoring on defense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how's it even possible? So if you actually give him help and like make him like make his team overall as somewhat contention, then obviously you guys have a few more wins, and who knows, maybe you can upset a Chiefs in the playoffs or something, or in the division, because everything's
Yep.
fluid. I mean, they're gonna get a lot of Sidney Rice or questions and all this jazz like every all year now. So that might be a little question mark and a little what's it called, or it's just in your face and it's not helping you prepare correctly. I forget the word right now. It escapes me, but that could hurt the Chiefs a little bit. And then if you're able to compete with them just a little bit, so maybe you wear down and then you tear down the wall. And then, I'm excited for where the Chargers are going. And it's funny, we picked both Los Angeles teams, the Rams and the Chargers. So that's kind of cool. We're thinking West, obviously, because I did the Cardinals.
Right.
But yeah, the Eagles, the Cardinals, the Chargers, the Rams, they definitely, I think, helped their team as best as they could in the draft from right now to going forward.
It just shows like I don't know if you remember on Thursday when we were together. When they drafted, I think Joe Alt, there was a lot of fans that came on the screen that didn't look too happy, but
They were like,
they looked like they were shocked that they didn't get a receiver, but it makes sense to draft the offensive lineman. It shows based off of the selections that we just, reviewed right now. It just shows that Harbaugh gets it. He wants to build the defensive line. He wants to build the offensive line, and he's bringing defensive playmakers that he knows either he scouted against or he's seen or he played against, right? He knows them very well. So it's just going to take a little bit, maybe a season or two for him to kind of get the roster built to the way that he envisions it. So I think just Chargers fans need to be patient. And it's a perfect time to be happening, honestly, because if you think about it, Herbert was actually drafted about 2020, right? 4 years ago. So you want to capitalize on his window now, right? You don't
right.
want him to be 6 years or 8 years into the league, and then finally now you're building the roster to benefit him. Like, no, he's young enough. You need to grow with him and see where he can take you, right? Make him prove, you like how valuable he is, which I know he'll do great.
Yeah, I like, man, I've been saying it since day one, since they hired him, whatever. I was like, dude, this dude's gonna go through the trenches. I mean, even like when he had scrambling Colin Kaepernick, his front line and his front seven on defense was still good. Like it was, I
Yep.
mean, they had a great team. That's why they went to the Super Bowl, and that's why they were in the NFC Championship games, right? So like, he built it through within and then out. So that's what he's doing with Los Angeles Chargers, and like you said, they were kind of like they're shocked faces, but um, patience is a virtue of where you're at. Like right now, you're like the second brother, like first oldest brother. Chiefs are, I mean, they're going to be dominant. So like, just build through that, like learn from them, and that's what they're doing. And I like the direct Chargers heading. So whew, yeah, like we agreed on. There's so many teams that just like, and I think they did really good. Like we're going to
Yeah.
you let's go to your just go to your Bears. I mean, I think even with 4 picks, but with free agency and the 4 picks, I mean, I think they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. It sucked honestly to watch the draft this year and only have them go through 4 rounds of making selections. But no, to your point, right? The only selection that left me kind of questioning or scratching my head was the punter. But apparently this punter is like legit. Like, right? He pretty much was responsible for a ton of safeties at Iowa because of his punting accuracy. So I'll take it. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, no,
as
that
a
was the only
Bears
head scratching.
as a Bears fan, you have to give praise for that pick. But you know what? If he is the next coming of Ray Guy, then down the line, how many punters are in the Hall of Fame, right? So like, let's say down the line, where you and I are going to be like old men and be like, dude, your punter's going to the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? Like how cool would that be? How rare is it, right? So Ray,
Hey,
I from the top of my head, I think only Ray Guy, from my standpoint of knowing, is the only punter in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if
I
he
think so.
there might be one or two more, but I mean, like, it poor guys, they never get respect, right? So, but I mean, they're
We
so
got to
key to the
research that.
game because look,
Yeah.
remember when Tom Coughlin was still coach of the Giants? What did he say? Do not punt to Deshaun Jackson. And what they do? They punted to Deshaun Jackson. All he did was punt return the game for a touchdown, and then they won the game. So like, like it's important, man. Like it's
Yeah.
uh
I mean, it helps the defense, right? It flips the field. So I get it. I get what what they were thinking, right? In terms of getting a playmaker at special teams. But I don't
I
know.
was
At
I
that
was
point,
like,
yeah, go for it.
I'm sorry, but like
That's
I
all
was
right.
like living the moment again. Like I was walking into my restroom, I think to take a shower or something, and then like you're just like, I see your text. We just drafted a punter, and I was like, I think he's joking, and then you're like, I forgot what he said, like only the Bears, and I was like, oh, this is real. Like I was like, this is real.
You thought
But
I was being
hey,
funny, huh?
yeah,
But
I thought we drafted a punter because I was already venting of the Cowboys like pissing me off, and then you're like, we drafted a punter, so I was like, oh, this is real.
now, like after right, the NFL draft has concluded. I feel better about it. I probably would have given him an A- if they didn't make another selection in the 5th round. But no, I think at that point when they were selecting the punter, there was 2 defensive ends that I really wanted. That's where we're lacking on defense, right? We need the help. And so when they went punter over those 2 defensive ends, I was like, shoot, um,
I want
I was just blown away.
you. That's what you said. You're like, well, we don't need defense. Apparently, they said, oh, how did Chris like the pick? Like, I wanted to talk to
Oh,
Chris. I'm sure he said a lot of nice things about it,
oh
but
yeah,
yeah, Dallas
he was.
Turner. He wanted Dallas Turner so bad at that ninth pick
uh,
after they drafted Penix Jr. The Falcons did, but um, yeah. So yeah, the draft came and gone. It's been crazy and the pandemonium, right? But I think the Bears with free agency, how you stocked on the offense in free agency already, and then you added those pieces, Caleb Williams, obviously Odunze, and then if you had 4 pick, who was your 4th pick then? If we're talking about the punter.
So no, we actually had 5 picks because they traded back in. They gave up next
Uh,
year's fourth round pick, but they ended up getting Austin Booker as their last selection, and that was good because Booker was one of those defensive ends that I wanted them to draft when they were selecting the punter. So I was just
so he still
thrilled.
fell.
Yeah, I was thrilled that he was still there.
Wow, so he still fell to you. So that's good. So that's a win-win then, I guess.
Yeah,
You
that's
get
why.
Ray
Yeah, that's
Guy
why I gave him an
2.0,
A.
and then all right. So I'm down. Well,
He,
we didn't get Luke McCaffrey or Brendan Rice when they were falling. I mean, or a running back for that matter. I mean, all right. So that's since we're bringing up that topic, give me the one team that you thought was just a bit of reach in or just kind of just was disappointing to you.
is it okay to bring up the Falcons? I think you and I talked
I,
about them.
yeah, what your opinion? I agree. Go ahead.
I think that's the obvious answer, but I was just very surprised by that first round selection. Yes, Michael Penix can be your future quarterback, but you're talking about right now, right? You have an offense that's built around Kirk Cousins. He can definitely operate that offense and bring you a lot of success, right? So if you have that ready to go for next year, don't you want to make life easier for the rest of your team by improving the defense? Well, leaving Dallas Turner on the board was just like the most idiotic move I could have ever ever seen. And I don't know if you saw the videos. I don't know how true this is or not, but there was a video surfacing about their GM explaining to Arthur Blank on why they selected Penix.
I saw a
And
picture. He's like,
yeah, and Arthur Blank was with a blank face on his on right. He didn't look too thrilled about that selection. And then I don't know. It's just to me, I think that sets them back so many years. Even it could even set them back this year, right? Not knowing that Kirk Cousins has to go out there and score 40 plus points because your defense is going to give up 40 or 38 points or 39 points, right? It just sucks that he's in that position. He's been in that position in Minnesota the last couple of years. So now you're not improving his situation. And to top things, to make matters worse, I guess, is now Penix is an older player, right? Because he went through a lot of injuries in college. So now he's coming in as an older rookie. You're going to have him sit behind Kirk Cousins for so many years. By the time he actually gets to play, he'll be 28. And what's the point then? Are you going to re-sign him to another contract, after that? Like, it just makes no sense. The timing is off. The way that they're constructing the team right now around Kirk Cousins is off. It just made no sense to me.
man, so it's a good thing Arthur can do multiple blank checks, right? So, so,
I see.
so Arthur Blank, I'm sure, is thrilled to keep writing massive checks because that's what he's going to do. And what is the one thing that we talked about? Because I forgot who went to where, and I was like, dude, he's the backup quarterback now. It's the best job in the world. You get paid millions of dollars to watch everyone else get their ass beat, and then you're fine. So, Penix got the best job right now. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, I mean, he gets drafted young and a high pick, so his agent is still gonna be like, "Yo, he still deserves at least 4 or 5 million from the jump, even if he's not starting, right?" So then, as a rookie, so then, man, yeah, and you know what? Okay, I'll go back to the whole debacle of the Atlanta Falcons. I want to give praise to one person throughout this process, Kirk Cousins. He apparently has already talked to Penix several times and
Oh,
just
really?
like yeah, and just like when he first got drafted, obviously I'm pretty sure he was like, what the bleep and what's going on, whatever. But him being a good, genuine individual and the person he is, I think a day or two later from pick, round two or round three, or like day two, day three, whatever, he talked to Michael, I guess personally, and just like to the
Wow.
Falcons, and like like that tells me a lot about the guy, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
Brady's not gonna be that Aaron Rodgers would have asked for a trade right then and there. I mean, there's so many players would have been like Rodgers would have cried foul. So uh hats off to Kirk Cousins to be a modeled individual. It says, you know what, man, like I am where I am right now, then you're gonna be the so like let's just buckle down and get through this. So good, good for him. But
I'm not surprised by that. He's a good dude. Like
Yeah,
he,
I've always been a Kirk Cousins. Like even when he was drafted by the Commanders, the Redskins by at that time. But I've always enjoyed him on and off the field, right? So
yeah, that Netflix quarterback series really helped his. I guess it helped him get a lot of fans because
persona,
just the way, yeah, just the way that he showed the person he was to his teammates, to the community. You know, one thing that really stood out to me watching that Netflix series is he took the time to actually, even after like a night Sunday night game or a Monday night game, he took the time to actually stop in the parking lot and sign some autographs for a fan. I mean, like that just speaks volumes of the type of person that he is, and then it just shows like a type of family man that he is, right? Football was never too big for his family, and you got to appreciate that coming from him. And it would have been easy for him to have, like to your point, like an Aaron Rodgers kind of outlook into things, right? Knowing, oh, why would they pay me so much money now? Draft my replacement. But
right?
instead, he was seeing it as an opportunity to welcome a new teammate. And I don't
To
know. I think
grow
I was,
together.
yeah, exactly. They can grow together, but now it's just going to be a little bit more of a difficult, challenge for him to get through. Having to go through a whole season trying to beat NFL
Okay,
defenses when your defense can't really
we'll go.
produce for.
I agree. So we'll go to the schematics of the pick and then everything. So, um, and you know what's weird? Like I don't really follow them after that pick. 'Cause I was like, bro, you've already kind of like failed the draft. Bro. You know what I mean? Like I just you
Yeah,
could if you want
that's
to bring
true.
it up, I'd appreciate that. Just like we should give them a fair estimate instead of just like the first pick. But like you said, Dallas Turner, so many players were still on the board right there, right? So like we none of us in the entire world, especially Falcons fans, are expecting them to draft a quarterback, right? So
Hmm.
it was definitely a shock. And like, yeah, why not Dallas Turner? Why not there's so many Vert's still there at that time, Fitz was still there. There's so many people. Corda Jean, like Chris saying, like he's the best cornerback, blah blah blah, and then he was there. So many players that they could have gotten, and then they drafted like after they just signed a quarterback the offseason with a ton of cash. So
So these are their draft selections. They got Michael Penix with their number 8th pick. They got Rook Orororo, Scooby Doo.
what is going on with names that like that's so cool? I'm like, how are we supposed to say these names when we're trying to scream their name? Man,
They got Braylon
Row your
Trice,
boat, Braylon Trice.
outside linebacker. He's a pretty good draft prospect, but again, when you're comparing Dallas Turner to a Braylon Trice, there's the drop off there, right? You're not going to get the same level of, I guess, caliber player that you would if you would have taken a Dallas Turner at 1.
I agree.
Then you have Brandon Dorless from Oregon, defensive tackle. I'm not, honestly, I can't tell you about Bertrand or McClellan or Washington or Logue, but
So Oregon had a good run, like we're talking about in the first round. I think a lot of them, I think, because how their season ended with Washington, of course, being twice and all that. Obviously, like I'm sure the organization, like the college itself, had a drop, but I think there's a lot of good steals. So he was C plus, which I agree. Like I mean, it could have been at least B plus, right? So like if you just it's strange, like right there. It's strange for them to draft. Even Miles Cooper had him C. Yeah, C. So
but everybody's just going, and I think to your point, right? Maybe we're being a little bit unfair to the Falcons fans because of that first round pick,
right.
but it
But
seems
the
like
whole world is
yeah, it seems like that's everybody's, C plus.
yeah,
Again,
see,
the
we're not
Penix
even
pick.
caring about everything. It's because how much they reached for the eight pick. Well, I C minus. So yeah, it just oh man, I don't know. And you just got a new coach, and it's a new GM, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's a
I'm
new
like,
GM.
so he didn't start out right. If that's that case. But yeah, holy moly! Can you look up that same draft grade? We're gonna go to the Dallas Cowboys next.
Dallas Cowboys.
I want to see their draft grades by Mel Kiper and them. But yeah, so the Falcons, your pick is totally agreeable, understandable, and um, man, uh and if that's the case, Tyler Guyton is still there. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah,
like he could have been drafted by the Falcons, and he would have protected Kirk Cousins. Like, there's so many. I mean, I don't get it.
let's
Shit.
see here.
That was nice.
The
I don't
Twin
think
Peaks.
that's a different podcast, but
Okay,
what's
I'm
going
getting
on?
X-rated here. All right, let's see.
that
I thought that was Mel
would.
Kiper.
Oh, there we go.
All right, so B minus. Okay,
B
it's not bad.
minus. See, and that's kind of what I give them. And a lot of people, of course, Cowboy fans are like, "Woo," like they're throwing tables and fighting. I'm sure, and giving them way more than or way less than a B minus that Mel Kiper gave them. But I agree with them. Like, but let me explain why we didn't like it, Cowboy fans, and why all this is foreshadowing, right? So the divorce is pretty much set in stone at this point because of this draft. Um, Now you have everything on Dak Prescott's hands. They don't get a young, good quarter or two good young running backs. They just go out and get Royce Freeman. I mean, I don't even know who Royce Freeman is. And then, of course, Rico Dowdle. Hopefully, he stands tall. US Today gave him a D, which I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so everything is on Four's hands at this point. Like, hey, man, we're gonna want to sign 88 soon. We're gonna want to sign 11 soon or whatever. But since you keep greedy and don't want to help us out, we're just going to see what you can do this year with a running back core that's considerably the worst in the NFL at this point because of the draft and free agency. We're going to give you, well, Gallup saved him on a lot of sideline catches. Like whether he was coming back from injury or not, Gallup was one of the best sideline catchers I've ever seen. Like that dude can
Yeah, he
just
was.
that silent catching. So now you don't have that. You don't have a deep core running back supposedly like that people like. Like they're drafting for to come in 2025. You get a Tyler Guyton and a BB to protect the new quarterback, whoever that may be, if it's Trey Lance or if they draft someone else. Um, you get they basically what I said about the Chargers and Harbaugh, right? They're going through the trenches. So they did the front seven a lot, and then they did the offensive line, and then of course they got the cornerback, which obviously that kid's a good cornerback because I think he one of the leaders in interceptions. So they just want to add to Bland and Diggs' interceptions, which is good for me, or good by me, like in my perspective. But we see how Dak plays against San Francisco. We're going to play the daunted AFC North next year, which scares me because the Browns defense, the Ravens ain't no joke. The Steelers, they're going to be up there. And then if it's a healthy Burrow, like the Bengals are always in contention. So this draft is solely based on let's make Ford work for everything if he really wants a true contract next year. And if he doesn't show up in the first playoff game, let alone the first playoff game, then obviously it's going to be like, bye, Dak Leisha. We knew who you were. We're done. So, because in 2020, it was year of COVID, new coaching staff, like Dallas was going in a massive transition, right? So, who had the leverage? The only one massive bright spot when we were like going like this during COVID was Dak at that time because for some like him and Kellen Moore were clicking that year. And
Mm-hmm.
just so people know, Kellen Moore is now with the Philadelphia Eagles with all those pieces. So he's gonna go for revenge for sure. Um they were clicking. Dak gets injured, hurt for the year against the Giants. He has the leverage because he was the bright spot at that specific moment. Now they're saying, can you the bright spot when the brightest lights are on going forward? So this draft is foreseeing the future of 2025 and forward. Like Guyton's going to be young, BB's young. Martin, they're gonna like try to keep that core together with Tyler Smith. I see it at left guard. So they're gonna try to keep that young offensive line trench group good and healthy. So when the next person comes, they can have already someone there to protect them. And
Yeah.
obviously, apparently they're liking Trey Lance's work. So he might be the steal of the trade of the decade if he, like, let's say, pans out good for them, and then at least gets them to the divisional, the NFC Championship game within a year or two after Dak leaves, right? But that goes back to the trenches of the offensive line coming right now. So next year when they sign Parsons and they sign Lamb, and they don't even have to sign Trey Lance at that point for a super exotic, contract, they just be like, hey man, earn us some wins, and then we'll go through negotiations. But at that point, we'll have a young core on the front seven and a young core offensive line. So when they A+, wow. Oh, Leo, okay, he's doing it by player.
Just for BB.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're doing it by player. But going back to that, it's all based on what's going to happen in 2025. If Dak actually like miraculously gets us to the NFC Championship game, they're gonna be like, "All right, man, we can sign all these pieces, including you, back, and we'll run it back with our young group." But the young group can honestly move on from Dak in a blink of a second because Zeke signed a 1-year deal. Him and Dak will
Hmm.
probably be best friends forever. Like they're probably gonna like next year, Zeke will probably just follow Dak. Like hey man, my best friend, I love him. And then so I don't hate the picks or the draft per se. It just sucks because I know what's to come.
Yeah.
Why we drafted this way, why we didn't take a running back, and why we didn't go high at a receiver like people want. You know what I mean? There's so many things because this year was a better quarterback, I think, draft class than I think is next year. So, but next year, I think the running back group will probably be better just because the quarterbacks might fall off, if that makes sense. So, I think a young core is going to start 2025 and 4 and 21, and maybe a few other pieces are gone.
Their
And then,
history.
yeah, the new regime will start, which kind of sucks again because we're going to have to wait another probably 2 years before we get to something that we love. But it is what it is, and I think that's why the draft picks are there.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's not the flashy names, right? I think a lot of Cowboys fans are wanting to see like those big profile draft prospects,
Right,
especially at the running back position, right? But if you look at their selections, I mean, they got a lot of value and things of need, right? Players of need. They got, they're shoring up the offensive line for sure with BB and
Guyton.
Tyler Guyton. And then they decided to go defensive end, and I think the defensive end that they got in round two was really good. Marshawn Nealon, he's actually really good. And yes, he's not the most prolific pass rusher yet, but against the run, he's solid, right? And if you're going up against a Saquon Barkley, you're going up against an Austin Eckler, your rush defense needs to be good because your pass rushing is going to be solid with Michael Parsons, right?
Right,
And then I honestly don't know enough for the cornerback that you guys drafted for Wake Forest. I have never heard from him or never heard of him, but you guys find a way to draft good cornerbacks, even in the later rounds.
right.
Bland, Deron
Yep.
Bland's like the perfect example. So, not too worried about it. Yes, it's not the most flashy or the best names, but you guys are going to be competing still in the NFC East. And with Dak Prescott being responsible, I mean, it's probably good, right? Just like you were mentioning, I think this is going to be the put up or shut up, right, moment for his career. It's either going to be yes, you deserve that contract, or no, you don't.
Right,
And history says history says that he's not going to be that guy, but maybe he can prove us wrong. Who knows?
right. And then going back to that Leo Fowl pick,
Yeah,
Overshown's coming back from a massive injury, right? So is he going to be 100% day one? Maybe not. And then you have a young linebacking crew now. We got Damoni Clark. Overshown is in his second year. Technically, now is going to be his rookie year because he didn't play all last year. Now you get Leofu. later in the draft also. So it's three linebacking cores, younger group with an Eric Hendricks that they can learn off of. So technically, right now they might have a few like bumps here and there, but the learning stage is right now. Like they can take over as soon as Eric Hendricks takes off, and then he may. I mean, he's kind of older too, so he's not gonna be there forever. But like you said, the Nealon pick was happy. I was happy with because we talked about it. I was like, we're probably gonna get defensive line because you said exactly what Nealon's supposed to do, run stopping, right? Like what was our
Hmm.
worst Achilles heel last year or the last few
In
years?
the playoffs.
Yeah, like we cannot stop the run. So Nealon, Parsons, and Lawrence together, I'm very happy with that. So we'll see how that goes. And then Mozzie Smith in his second year, does he step up and be who we think he is, or is he a slouch? We'll find out.
Yeah.
So
I so that is that your biggest or the bad grade that you wanted to give out, or are you gonna pick another team? I honestly like if you this was your team that you were gonna give a bad grade to, like I think you need to cut them some slack.
I mean, honestly, the team that scratched my head the most was the Falcons, and I mean, I was I was scared to bring him up because that was like everyone's scratcher, but I mean, like it
Yeah,
was
that was
good that we
obvious.
talked about it. And like, I mean, is there any other team that you think that like just didn't do
I
well? Because
have
I think
Yeah, I have one more. And not overall, like their whole draft was not that bad, but I think and you and I talked about it last week on Thursday. It was the Bills trading the pick to the Chiefs to make them stronger,
they
right? That
completely
made no
failed.
sense. Yeah, that was just for me. That's the move that made them fail the draft.
One, and I could see if you want to move back to get trade value or whatever, if you had more pieces available that didn't leave your team, right? Like you've had so many pieces leave, and then the worst part is you gave it to the person that beat the crap out of you every playoff. So
Yeah.
I'm like, why would you give to the person that stabs you in the heart every year more firepower and more ammunition to stab you even worse?
And we couldn't hear the coverage for the NFL draft, but I rewatched it, and sure enough, they said the same exact thing the commentators did in regards to them trading the pick to the Chiefs. They said, "Why would you trade with the team that keeps beating you in the playoffs?" And again, yes, they had a solid pick or picks, from day 2 to day 3, but to me, it's like, come on, dude, like that just you gave them all the power, and you didn't need to be giving them, like, you didn't need to make them that strong. Yes, we may be wrong about Xavier Worthy, his production or whatever, but still giving them another playmaker to stop on offense when they're already hard to stop to begin with, like, just made no sense to me. And
It,
so for that reason alone, they failed the NFL draft, and they just, I mean, they put the rest of the NFL like in a bad spot.
yeah, I mean they just gave a massive Christmas present to the Chiefs before Christmas. Like it's just like, here, we bought you a car even though you don't have a driver's license yet, but here you go. Like we bought you a
It's a
Ferrari.
Lamborghini.
Yeah, we brought you a Ferrari. Here you go. And have fun. And it's like we'll stick with our little S10 back at the 70s S10. But it honestly, man, I forgot about that because I just wanted to get it out of my head. Like I they're like the Bills now are an afterthought to me after the draft because I was like, what did you do? What did you accomplish?
Yeah.
Like what did you lost so many pieces in free agency and through trades, and then it's the same thing with the Cowboys and Josh Allen now with the Bills. Like it's on you, man. Like it's 100% on you now because it's they you could have drafted Xavier Worthy. Like what are you doing?
I know. And if they wouldn't have, then probably the next couple of teams would have. Or even the freaking who was it?
Maybe the Cowboys do.
Yeah. Maybe the Cowboys, maybe the Niners,
Yeah.
maybe even the Lions, who knows. But yeah, it was just uncalled for. That I think that just deflated the whole rest of the first
The
round.
whole
I think
momentum, like
I
you and I just lost all energy. Like what? There's wait,
yeah.
like I was Michael Penix and Buffalo trading to Kansas City was like it was like if we were in Saturday Night Live and then it was the joke of the sketch. Like, all right, we're gonna have the Falcons draft a quarterback. All right, woo, and then we're just joking about it. And then like, hey, let's Bills always get pummeled by the Chiefs. Let's let them trade their pick to them. Like uh that made
So
no sense.
look at this comment here. Oh, you can't. Oh, you can't even see my screen. Sorry. Let me. I thought I was sharing my screen on the Buffalo Bills.
No one circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills. It will be interesting to see if dealing with the Chiefs, so Kansas City could pick speedy pass catcher Xavier that comes back to bite the Bills. That was his analogy?
Yeah,
What kind of
but
analogy is
yeah.
that? It is going to bite them. Like, what do you mean? They can't even beat them without him.
Oh man, it's gonna bite everybody in the butt, not just the Bills. But yeah, they're my biggest losers for sure.
Jesus. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about Cowboys just because, like, I get why we're like as Cowboy fans, so frustrated. But it's all about power right now, and they don't want to give Dak power because then he'll be right back then in 2020 where he'll have the leverage and he'll be like, "Give me, give me, give me." Like he'll be like, I forget his name in the movie, but Cuba Gooding Jr. and Jerry Maguire.
Yeah,
And it's so funny. His name's Jerry Maguire. So it'd be just like the same character. Show me the money, Jerry. Show me the money. Come on, Jerry. Tell it with me, Jerry. Show me the money. You know what I mean? Like that's what Dak would have if we built him a monstrous team right now, even though he doesn't want to take a discount. And then that's exactly what he would do.
yeah.
So now
And
everything's on.
it doesn't help that his brother's in a lot of those conversations too. Like his
Dude,
brother does him no justice.
and he does nothing. Does he even? He don't play no damn
He
sport.
just
Like
no. He
he
just stirs
mooches
the
off his
pot.
brother. He mooches off his brother. I remember when Dak said 30 million ain't enough to pay my family or something per year. I'm like, bro, I'm about to curse you like nobody's business because don't you tell me like I can have 1 million and I can have that for a while and be fine and make sure my family's taken care of. Don't you play with me.
Yeah, no.
30.
I just think that it's he doesn't deserve a big contract.
Not the
Knowing the
Patrick
way that
Mahomes.
yeah, no, not that kind of money. Not even I don't even think the contract he deserves because he's not producing when it counts, and that's the playoffs. He needs to be. I mean, he's had great teams for several years now, and I think that's probably the most frustrating thing for you guys.
I could see 3 years ago when Micah was still a rookie and there's so many like young pieces, but the last 2 years, bro, you have no excuse.
Yeah, I mean, year over year, it's the same, song and dance, and it gets old. It really does.
Remember, man, we played basketball with our boys, and we'd all talk about like sports, like every sport, baseball, hockey, football, whatever. And I would tell you, man, Cowboy faithful are gonna cry the day number 9 retires because we'll finally probably build a team, and then that one position is gonna hurt us because number 9's not there anymore. And
Sure
bro,
enough, it's happening.
it happened. Oh.
Yeah, Romo was undervalued, man.
I remember I would bleed for him. Like I would like slit my wrist for him for
Yeah.
people. And I'm like, they'd be like, "You're stupid, Romo can't." I'm like, dude, if you have to score 40 points a game because your defense is giving 48, what are you supposed to do? Like he's gonna win big or fall big. Like that's just how it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have fans like that in every fan base,
Oh
right?
yeah.
You're gonna have, like Justin Fields is a perfect example.
Chris.
Justin Fields split our fan base in half. You had the people that believed in him, and then you had the people that say, "Oh, he sucks." But look at the supporting cast around him. He didn't have
Right.
nobody. He didn't have an
Right.
offensive line. He got sacked the most in the NFL. Like, what do you want him to do?
Yeah.
This Tony Romo situation, same exact thing. He didn't have the best teams. Yes, he had a few good years, but when you look at the If you would have put Romo on today's Dallas Cowboys, he would have
Oof.
taken you to the Super Bowl for sure. I can
Yeah,
guarantee you that.
hands down. And so, like you said, the fan bases, right? Like, there's people that still baby Dak, like, oh my god, like he scores all these points and he throws all these. I'm like, because the NFL's built that way now. But when
Yeah.
it push comes to shove and he needs to show up, where's his touchdowns? It goes into interceptions. Where's his yards? It goes for him like missing it. Like, I don't know. It's frustrating. But there's another that too that I wanted to like chime off of. But yeah, it's so
You
bizarre. Like, you have to
you want to
strike lightning
see?
in a bottle
Let's see the draft grades overall. Let's see.
with every team.
Yeah, let's see if there's one that you want to talk about. We finished this show pretty quickly, so we have
I
time.
figured this one was gonna be a quicker one, but it's fun to keep trying in. But yeah, going back to man, Ford just has to get it done, man. There's no excuse anymore.
Yeah, it's
Like, oh, that's what I
so
was gonna bring up because you said this teenage, this team, Tony Romo would have for sure at least to the Super Bowl. Like, yeah, I agree, but Terrence Williams, who's I think he's with the UFL now or what? I don't know. I think he's still trying to play elsewhere. Poor guy, he's
mhm.
older, man, but he had some good years with both quarterbacks actually. Dak's year and then Romo, but in his interview, you guys don't understand. Like, both are talented. Dak can run obviously better, but he's physical. Both are extremely talented. But dude, Tony Romo knew every damn defense when I got drafted. He said, "Okay, line up here because they're gonna run this." And he goes, "It sucked because we didn't have all the pieces while we played." He goes, "But if I had to pick one of those quarterbacks to play with all my life, he's like, it Tony Romo hands down."
I believe it because look at him as a commentator.
Oh man,
He
yeah, he
knows what's
predicts the
coming.
damn play.
Sometimes, right? Sometimes he
Yeah,
does, but he knows like the coverages. He knows what they're calling on defense. So yeah, I mean, it shows how smart he was even as a player. Like he still continues to understand like what NFL teams are doing, what
the
are like
concept.
the trends. Yeah. So I believe that. But let's hear. This is the AFC East. New England Patriots got a B minus. It just shows you, like, looking at all these grades, people had like teams overall had a really good draft. Like it was A's
C
and B's
minus.
everywhere. Of course. AFC South. I mean, Jacksonville got a C. Colts got a C.
C minus. Wow.
I know. I'm surprised to see that Liatu Latu pick not
Low
being
to
valued.
low to.
Look at the AFC North.
Jesus, not one C.
And I agree. The Steelers had a really good draft. And that's two
Yeah.
years in a row. You even brought that
And
up, I think, on a text.
yeah, and I said like that's why I didn't bring him up today because I'm like we're talking about this year's draft, but I'm like overall they've kicked ass from
Yeah.
free agency to draft the last few years. Like they're oof.
The state of
And,
Pennsylvania knows what they're doing, I guess, huh? The
uh,
Philadelphia Eagles and the Steelers.
brotherly love.
Look at the Raiders. Look at the Broncos. They got a
Hey,
D.
damn, think about the D's. Dang.
D for Denver. Let's see. Getting Xavier will open up the downfield passing game. The Chiefs grabbed really good football players with their other picks, too.
When do they not?
Yeah. NFC
Yeah.
South. Hey, the Tampa Bay Bucks, they drafted a UTEP minor,
Yeah.
a
Three.
guard.
Patriots got a minor too.
Yeah, Jacob Cowing, right? Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
something like that.
Wide receiver.
Yeah.
And then I know the linebacker,
Yeah, Knight.
Tyrese. Yeah,
Good for him.
Knight.
He went in the fourth round for UTEP. Like that says something. But do you
Yeah, he
know
was
that
good.
he led the league or led the FBS in solo tackles?
Yeah, he was everywhere, man. I watched a couple games last year, and
Sheesh,
he,
that says a
he
lot.
was he was the one guy that would stand out every game just because of the way he played. All right. Shoot, I'm frozen here. All right. I think I lost you, but I'll keep going for our sake here. You look at the NFC North. everyone got a good grade except for the Green Bay Packers. They got a C plus, right? I think the Jordan Morgan pick was the one that people are not really sold on. So that might be a bit of a reach. JJ McCarthy to the Vikings, that makes sense for sure. But who knows how that hype what that hype ends up being. I know that his draft stock really rose the last couple of weeks in the NFL, so or in the draft combine. Um, but yeah, JJ McCarthy. I mean, they gave up a lot, honestly, to move up twice, right? They moved up to get JJ McCarthy, and they moved up again to take Dallas Turner. So both picks, who knows? Dallas Turner for sure, I think would be a good player, but JJ McCarthy might be a who knows a bit of a reach, but he has those intangibles as a quarterback, right? He's a good leader. He's a winner. So that makes sense. Perhaps that's a pick that ends up being really valuable for them. All right, there you are. Sorry, I was just going
Hey,
over
dude, I'm
the. You're frozen
the
again.
draft.
Can you hear me? Oh, there you are. All right.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Okay. Cool. So
So, okay,
I
what
was
were
just
we
going
talking
over the
about?
NFC North. We're just talking about the NFC South and how, of course, Tampa Bay Bucks, the Falcons got a C, and we start talking about the UTEP Miners.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Night.
but now, but now we're looking at the NFC North, and look, everyone, almost everyone
Hey,
on in this division got a
hey,
good grade except for the Packers.
C
And
plus. What? C minus?
yeah, C plus. But I think that the reason why they got a C plus was because they went for Jordan Morgan with that number one pick,
Right.
and that may have been a little bit of a reach there for that player specifically.
That's good for us because we hate Green Bay.
Yeah. NFC East, look at that. A for the
Hey.
Washington Commanders, exactly what we've been saying. Right, they had a really solid draft, and then Eagles, of course. Right, look at they get an A just based off of those first two picks. I always wonder, like, how do these draft gurus or pundits, like, how do they make their decision on a draft grade? Just
Yeah, I don't
curious.
know. I mean, I get that everyone's saying, Giants need a quarterback, blah blah blah. But I mean, it's like when I was, trying to defend Dak 2 years ago, right? He's under contract. What are we gonna do? Like, there's ifs, no ands, buts around it. Like, they're not gonna get rid of him if he had an option year or like he was on his last year, maybe. But Daniel Jones has what 2-3 years on his contract,
Yeah, a couple
so
years.
yeah. So I mean, like maybe next year if he doesn't, because I mean they got some good. I mean they got Malik Neighbors, so you got a good receiver to throw to now, so you have no excuse to not get it to him.
He looked pissed. Did you see his press conference by chance?
Neighbors,
Yeah, like even his the Giants social media team, they I guess had a videographer,
yeah,
and so they were taping when he arrived to the Giants facility. He looked
yeah,
pissed. He had this blank face, like, and people were like, "Oh shit, he's pissed that he got drafted by the Giants." And sure enough, like maybe it wasn't. Maybe that's just his resting bitch face. Who knows? But
yeah.
he gets to the press conference, and then they ask him about Daniel Jones. Like, "Oh, are you familiar with Daniel Jones? What do you think about his game?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm familiar with him."
Where'd you go? What happened? Dunno. Bro, what is going on? I guess I'm the one that's live. All right, so going. All right, so I don't know if he's offline or off if I'm offline, but going back to what he was saying, Malik Neighbors looked a little upset, and so obviously it's not going to be the greatest thing if you're a New York Giants fan if he's not happy. But Daniel Jones has no excuse to. I guess I am the only one on the live. Uh, there's no excuse. I mean, you get Darren Waller last year, free agency. You got to start throwing him the ball. You got Malik Neighbors, who's a young stud from LSU. You got to throw him the damn ball. Um, Going back to the draft grades, they were talking about the NFC East before he cut off. So the Eagles, damn those Eagles, they did really good. The Commanders, though, I mean, they were by far, hating to say it, but by far my favorite, one of my favorites in the draft. Man, they stole it for sure. They did such a great job. Jaden Daniels, um, it starts it out with quarterback. You get Luke McCaffrey, who's a sneaky person who fell. Obviously a McCaffrey bloodline. Um, all right, looks like he might be
Sorry,
coming back.
technical
All
difficulties there.
right. Let's see if he comes through. There he is. All right, what's going on? Are you there? All right, there you go. Danny. Danny, can you hear me?
All right, sorry. Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry.
What happened? Like both of our
My
systems
my
went
power
down.
went out and it
Like,
went back on, but it knocked everything out. So
how'd
my
your power
apologies.
it flickered or what?
Say that again?
It flickered or what?
Yeah, like it just flickered, turned off, and then everything shut off.
Oh man. So
And
then
so it came
I
back
was like,
on.
oh man, is it me this time or is it me still or what's going on? And then like you disappeared. So I was like, okay, I'm definitely still on. So then I was telling everybody about they have Darren Waller, Malik Neighbors now. Like Daniel Jones has no excuse to throw it in the air and like get some stuff going on. And then how the damn Eagles did really good, and then the Commanders obviously stole the draft. Like they did phenomenal. And then yeah, that's where we were when you started to come back on. So
Thanks for covering. All right. Look at the Rams. Look at the NFC West. A. And then the Niners got a C plus.
thank God, good for them. We don't want them to be bye bye.
See, but that's the thing here. Like when we're talking about, you know, like the strong teams, right? Year over year, the Niners have been a strong team for several years now, right?
Right. Oh,
There
yeah.
comes a point where there's a drop off, right?
There has
Either
to
they
be.
can't afford everyone, or just things happen, right? They have a down year. But with the Chiefs, it's not happening. But with the Chiefs, it's like they're getting stronger. They're getting more playmakers. It's just, I don't know. It's going to be tough to win a Super Bowl, let alone win the playoffs in the AFC. So who knows?
Yep.
But
Is there an echo on your end?
Is there an echo?
Yeah, on your end.
Hold on. Give me 1 sec. Let me mute. All right.
So
Let's see.
when I was talking, I could hear me in your background. So with the headphones,
It was because my power went out. I had to use my speakers for my monitor, so that's probably why.
right. Okay, but now yeah, everything's back on. Whew. Man, we both
That's
had
technical
that's so weird.
difficulties.
Yeah, I know. Like, what? This is why we need to get. This is why we need to get drafted by NBC or ESPN or whatever. Yeah, hello. We're
Yeah, we'll have a producer. We'll have the best audio and video.
we won't be at our we won't be like this and but yeah. So yeah, the Bills, man, they were so weird. Like I don't know. Like that's like your bigger brother beating you up all the time, and you're like, oh, here's a bat. You know what I mean? Like it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But and then the Penix Jr. that'll be baffling for a while. And then what happens if that one pick could have helped you win the division, if not more games. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Damn.
You know what? All of this will go away if, God forbid, Kirk Cousins gets injured, right? And Penix just comes in and kind of takes that next step for the offense. Yeah, you never know. But for
Yeah.
now, it's a head scratching move.
Oh yeah.
But guess
Abs-
what? Next week we have the schedule release next Thursday. So I don't know if you want to push back our podcast today and go
Yeah, we can
live on
try. Well,
Thursday.
obviously, you know that I'm going to the Chihuahuas game tomorrow, so that's why we came earlier. But yeah, so the whole thing comes out next week.
Yep. They release it
Oh,
at I think 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. I can't remember the exact time, but yeah, by the
and
time
by
we
the
go
time
live,
we do it, it'll be all. Oh, dude, that's beautiful. Mwah. Watch,
yeah.
Dallas gonna get the first Sunday night game, like always, and then we're gonna be playing some team that's gonna. I'm gonna be scratching my head with, but and man, we got a great opponents next year, so it could be it could be
The
anybody.
Steelers week 1.
Yeah. Oh man, could you imagine Sunday night? Oof. That'd be
That'd
a
be
that'd
cool
be a
though.
good game. Oh yeah, that'd be a great game to watch. Like a lot of people would chime in, like Russell's new team, and then the new regime of Pittsburgh, and then you get damn America's team in week 1. Like yeah, it'd be probably one of the most watched first games ever.
But it's interesting. I don't know if you've noticed this. Typically, the schedule is released like April, like maybe about a week or two before the draft. This year, they waited till May. And honestly, I'm thinking that they're doing this because they wanted to see like the draft play out. They wanted to
Right.
know who was going where, right? And so now, when it comes to schedule makers, they're going to be able to see, all right, for example, let's see if, let's see if Caleb Williams, right, going to Chicago. Now he'll play, you know, JJ McCarthy week 1, you
Ooh
know,
man, that'd be
right?
crazy. That'd be
I think
cool.
they're looking, yeah, I think they're looking for those kind of matchups to kind of really
Put the
promote each
flair, yeah,
week.
the flair every game.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking. So
And what's crazy is week 1 this year is going to be the first week 1 international game. So that's
yeah,
weird. The
in
Eagles and someone
Brazil,
else. Yeah.
the Eagles and the Packers,
The Packers?
hmm
Damn, hope they tie.
and it's a Friday game, which is crazy.
Really?
Yeah,
So it's Thursday, the Super Bowl matchup, like the champion, the Chiefs hosting someone, and then the Friday game, and then
see that I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna be instead of the Thursday Super Bowl champion. I don't know if it's gonna be the Friday game instead, or if it's gonna be both Thursday and Friday, and then we have Sunday. I mean, that would be ideal. Hopefully, it's Thursday,
that
Friday, and
is
Sunday.
wild.
Yeah,
What are they
but
doing? Oh yeah, because they wanted to do some like it's like a holiday, right? That day or something. So that's why they wanted to put a football game.
I think so. I think it might be a big holiday out there.
Like, well, no, here too. I think
Well, usually they do it the weekend of Labor Day, so I don't know if it falls on that one. Again, I don't know.
maybe it's Labor Day week. Maybe it's legit Labor Day. So I don't know, man. That's weird. But yeah, so maybe it is Thursday and Friday because the Thursday is the Super Bowl. The remember Chiefs lost last year
Yeah, to the
to the
Lions.
Lions. Yep.
And I think
So
you and I were even talking about like, oh no, at least you were saying you believed in the Lions. I was
yeah,
like,
remember
nah.
you're like, there's no way, and I was like, dude, watch, they're gonna beat them. Like they're gonna upset them
Yeah,
somehow, some way. And then I was like, and the Lions are gonna represent the NFC Championship game. I was
and they
two for
did.
two on that one.
I
Sheesh.
didn't want to accept the truth.
I feel you, but yeah, man. It next week's gonna be fun though, because then we're gonna be able to. What we could do is like we can talk about like our teams on each spectrum of 1 through what 18 or whatever 17,
hmm
and then what we could do is talk about the potential like game of that week of like where we think things are just gonna go balls to the wall off. That'd be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, I would like to do it that way. Go week to week to see like, all right, which matchups, you know,
Right.
are going to be the ones that we need to look out for based off of player matchups, based off of,
Whew.
playoff scenarios that could happen.
And
So
another
it's going to
reason
be a lot of
why
fun.
another probably reason why they waited till May is because there's this another thing that podcasters and streaming people can talk about now, right? So like it just elevates the help and the oh man, this is so cool. Like
Yeah, next week's gonna be a lot of fun because we'll see the matchups. People know where they're gonna play week 1, and then I think OTAs or rookie minicamp starts next week. OTAs is
wow,
later.
already.
Yeah, so we'll be able to see some highlights from practice for some of the rookies. So that's just gonna be cool. I mean, then before you know it, we'll be in OTAs, training camp, and then we'll start the football season
So
all over again.
the first time we're gonna do a group chat or something. The first time Dallas Turner hits Caleb Williams, I'm gonna be like, "Yo, Chris, ah."
He's gonna hate you for that.
Oh man, that's wild that he went to the Vikings because you guys were like, "Man, just anybody but a divisional person," and then out of everybody, he went to Minnesota.
No, I don't know. Watch back our show last Thursday when the Vikings took, or when the Falcons took Penix. I said, oh, okay, the Vikings are gonna get him. I didn't think the Vikings were gonna get JJ McCarthy first, but they did. Right? They traded in to get JJ McCarthy, and
Right.
it so happened. I said it again after the Roma Dunze and all that. I said, look, Dallas Turner's gonna go to Vikings. And sure enough, it happened. It's like I called it. I knew that he was gonna go to a division rival.
Yeah.
I was just hoping it wasn't Green Bay.
Yeah,
That would have
yeah,
been scary.
that was Chris. Like, man, as long as it's not the Packers, man. And
Yeah,
Gabe too. Like, we're all like, man, screw the Packers.
that was so much fun. I'll always forget that. I mean, I'll always remember that day. I'll always forget. It
Yeah,
wasn't that memorable.
if you're a Buffalo Bill, you're gonna forget that day for sure,
Right. I wanted to forget that 27th pick,
bro. Like, what
28th
are
pick.
you doing?
And I took a
Yeah,
liking to the Bills, believe it or not. Last year, like I was rooting for them the whole
not
year.
now, not now.
Now it's like, what the heck are you doing, guys?
Yeah, not now, for sure not.
But yeah, it was fun. We didn't have any viewers with us this week, but
That's weird. Where's Gabe? What happened?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they knew that we were gonna have some technical difficulties. They're like, yeah, whatever.
Well, they probably did it on purpose. They probably did it to us.
Probably your uncle.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm gonna mess this little Tokyo real quick.
Yeah, I like seeing little Tokyo sweat. But
Jeez.
no, um, for those of you that tune in after, you know, please share this video with all your friends and all your followers. That way we can, spread out to more people and get more followers that way. But yeah, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, right, as we get closer to the football season, we want to get to a point where, we're getting comments like we did last week, right, where we're getting a lot of engagement from our viewers. That's what we're really hoping for, just to kind of get dialogue going, meet new fans across the NFL landscape, and hopefully, that's something that we can accomplish this year. I think that's what we're really shooting for. I know we're still ways away from being able to monetize our channel, but most important, like what I'm really looking for is connecting with the NFL fans, right? The ones that see it from our perspective, or they're to bat to, for their teams and defend their teams with every decision that they make. So that's what we want. That's what we want to engage with. So please, whatever you can do to share the channel, we definitely appreciate it. But hopefully we'll come back to you next week with better service and no technical difficulties. So that
I
way,
know that's weird that we
we can
both
make it
would.
smooth. Yeah, it's really weird. I need better internet, I guess. But I don't know, Essa. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up today's show?
Man, man, it's just I'm excited to go to the Chihuahuas game. For those that don't know, oh, you're blacking out again. What happened?
Oh my God! There you go.
Oh man. So yeah, maybe
Uncle G.
damn, yeah, Uncle G really is messing around. Oh man. But yeah, so yeah, for those that know that Uncle G passed April 16th, and we've been talking about different podcasts and each episode, and I get to go support and honor him tomorrow at the Paso Chihuahuas playing the Sugarland Space Cowboys, which is the farm team for Houston Astros, and Uncle G was a huge Houston Astros fan. So like it's so cool that those baseball guys that I met, and ironically I was serving them and all that jazz, and then I told them why we were planning to go soon, and I didn't expect to go this week, because we were supposed to plan a big thing with our cousins, and then some are going, some can't go because of how short notice, but it was just an amazing like blessing that these guys that don't even know me or our family, that was like, hey man, we'll give you some free tickets to come support and support your uncle. And I was like, I was baffled. So thank the heavens for them, and just the fact that they're honoring that.
That's divine intervention, my friend.
Oh man, that was so cool. But yeah, I'm excited for that. Next week, obviously we kind of saw what the draft was, and we did the draft. So a lot of people probably were expecting some of our grades, and just like especially the people that kind of like faltered. But next week, I'm super stoked because that's a whole new pandemonium, right? Like we don't know who we're gonna play week one, the Bears and the Cowboys, or other people's teams. Like it's gonna be exciting to see. And mark your calendars, ladies and gentlemen, next Thursday, and we're gonna be talking about the NFL schedule 2024. Can't wait. Stupid Chiefs better not win again.
Let's hope. Let's hope not. Right? We need a miracle for that not to happen again, based off of the roster they constructed. But to second that, right? I think next week's going to be a lot of fun. Not only because we see the matchups, but because we also, I think a lot of NFL fans, that's when they start planning their trips, as they want to go see their teams play somewhere else, right? For me specifically, I know the Bears play in Glendale next year, so now that
Really?
I'll be in Arizona, it works out for me. I don't have to make that travel. I'll already be there. So I'm super excited for that reason. I'm super excited about seeing what team Caleb Williams opens up against. There's just a lot of excitement going.
I know it's gonna suck for you guys, or like you probably don't want that, but I honestly think it's gonna be Green Bay versus Chicago, just because like
Well, they'll be in Brazil, remember? So they open up against the
oh
Eagles.
the Eagles. That's weird. See,
Yeah, I'm telling you,
that still makes my mind not wrap around. I
it
thought
hasn't processed.
because that's all right. Well, then there you go. That's it's not the Packers.
Thank God, because I don't to start the year again with another Packers loss. That
I
it
know,
doesn't
man.
bode
Like,
well.
oh man, and then like how Aaron Rodgers even chimed in when Jordan Love beat you all. Like, it was just like, well, at least
Yeah,
you kept the tradition going. I was like, damn, bro, leave him alone.
savage from afar.
Yeah, I know,
But
man.
it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I hope you have a good time with your family at the ballpark. I think
Yeah,
that's super cool that the
Cousins Day for sure.
yeah, that's so cool that the Sugarland Cowboys were able to hook you up with that. Even though you being a hometown
Yeah,
El
they
Paso
were
and
the
like
away team, if even like you know what I mean. Like, how
yeah,
awesome and genuine are they? So yeah, they definitely made a fan and friend forever for sure.
that's awesome, man. Share some photos and have a good time, and we'll talk next week.
Definitely. Much love to everyone who watches later and give us some feedback. Let us know. Follow us and just help us grow. We'd really appreciate that. We've been trying to do this for what 3 years or something, and now we're off
Yeah,
to the races. And I think we started out good. We just want to keep it going. So,
absolutely.
Danny Ramirez, thank you again. This is the Sun City Leatherheads podcast coming to you from El Paso, Texas. Soon it'll be El Paso and Arizona. Woo woo. Sad day that day, but yeah, I'm JD Cercelli. Until next time, Sun City Leatherheads out.